guys, welcome back to the garage, man. Today we're picking back up on the S10 Blazer. I want to keep moving forward with getting this engine in here. Our first step for the day is we need to get all this brake fluid out. Honestly, I haven't even opened this to see if there's any brake fluid in it. I would assume yes, there most certainly is. So yeah, we're going to be vacuuming all this brake fluid out because one of our first steps is we need to notch this subframe down here because we have to make clearance for that oil pan. That oil pan is going to sit right here. I personally am going to be running the stock oil pan. This is a 5.3 that's out of, I believe it was a 2004 Chevy Tahoe, and that is a truck oil pan. So in order to run the stock oil pan, you most certainly have to make this notch. Now you can go out and get the hot rod or whatever they call it, the conversion oil pan. I believe they run you like 200 bucks if you want to spend that money. What we're going to be doing is notching, but if you look, we have a brake line running right along this frame rail, in which is going to obviously be in our way. So what I'm going to do for now is just go ahead and remove those brake lines completely so they're not in our way. Before we go and crack that thing open, we need to get all this out. What I'm going to be using is a brake bleeder. So this is basically a vacuum that helps you bleed your brakes, especially whenever you're doing it by yourself. Got the little attachment that goes on the bleeder that's actually on your calipers down there, but you can pop this off and then it's just a hose. Now this is pneumatic. You will need an air compressor if you want to do it this way. A subscriber of mine actually sent this to me quite some time ago, and I've gotten a lot of use out of it. While we're here, since this is so disgusting in here, I'm gonna go ahead and actually pour some acetone inside. Yeah. Use an old paintbrush. Just agitate the inside of this and get all this built up gunk out of here. Double tap. This thing was disgusting. So I'm also going to try to vacuum all the fluid out of the lines as well to avoid as much as possible from making a mess all over the concrete, like the freaking rain is doing right now. Yeah, it's raining. Alright, I'm going through and I'm breaking all these brake lines. Yeah, breaking all the brake lines. I know I should be using a pipe wrench. Is that what it's called? A line wrench? Whatever. All my line wrenches, they're way smaller. For whatever reason, I don't have one that fits this. A 14 fits on there pretty snug. There is our brake lines. I know they can't go back in the same place they came from, but who knows? We may be able to reuse a portion of this. If not, we'll have to make a new line, obviously, to run through a different path. So it's not in our way anymore. So step one is finished. Brake line is out of our way. Now we can go ahead and start marking this out and figure out exactly where it is we want to cut it. I'm wanting to go ahead and get this harness out of our way. So where this is going through the firewall, it comes in right here underneath the dash, and then these plugs were just going straight up into what I believe is like the factory ECU. But then there's one more plug that sticks off of this harness that goes over to this, and it is running up to what looks like could be the fan, like the fan motor for the AC and for the heater. Now this is my first time doing one of these swaps, so I'm gonna have to do some research and find out if we need to keep any of this wiring for any reason, because honestly I have no idea. As far as engine wise, I'm pretty certain that we don't need any of it, but I just don't know if any of this is tied in with any of the other things inside of the vehicle, like air conditioning and, you know, stuff like that, lights or whatever. That's the only reason why I'm not just cutting all this stuff out of my way. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to take it all out without cutting it, just take it out properly so we can set it aside for the time being, just in case we do end up needing it. So that takes care of that side. Now over here, pretty sure all we need to do is just take that bolt out. There's a retaining screw. Pretty sure we just got to take that out, and then this will unplug. Yes, sir, that one bolt right in the center of that's a 1/4 inch. That one bolt allowed us to remove every single bit of the wiring from the engine bay. Sick. And that is what it is you're left with. That is actually the back side of the fuse box that is on the interior of the vehicle. Now, a portion of this is the entire headlight harness. So I know for a fact that we are still going to need that. So like I said, if you're doing this, make sure you don't throw this away until we figure out whether or not we're going to need any of this, man. That is most certainly going to be an episode that I am not going to be excited about. The wiring. Into the shed with ya. So I know this thing's not gonna fit in here in this configuration. I know that there's some things we need to trim and cut and knock out of the way and melt and weld. And as a matter of fact, I need to get that engine stand out of the way. I guess I didn't really think of that, did I? All right, so I mentioned to you guys I have not done this before. Now, through my research, like I've done a lot of research. I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube. There are a ton of videos on YouTube. It seems like everybody does everything different though, just like anything else though, right? But anyhow, from my research, it tells me that this is going to be in the way. This cross member is going to be in the way. It needs to be notched. From my research, once again, I have learned that the frame actually needs to be notched right here if you do plan on ever running air conditioning. In which, yes, I would like this to have air conditioning. But anyhow, basically what I'm saying is all of this is from my research and not from my personal experience. So I want to actually see it. I want to try to jam a square peg into a round hole, if you know what I mean. Most of the people that I've seen are just like, okay, you need a notch here, but they don't actually show you the engine in there and the oil pan just dink, dink, dink into the cross member. Like, that's not gonna work, we gotta cut it. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I want to actually see it for myself, and I think it'll give us a better idea of how much we actually need to cut out of that cross member. Man, a square peg into a round hole most certainly is correct, because we are already running into a problem. Well, for one, I need to kind of jack the blazer up a little bit because my engine hoist is running into the lower control arm. So we need a little bit more ground clearance there. But another thing that is going to really stop us from being able to just slide this thing in here to even get a look is these stock manifolds. That's another one of those things that I have learned through my research, is that the stock manifolds aren't going to work because they are in the way. Yeah, you have to get swap headers, you know what I'm saying? I would imagine they probably come in and hug the block a little bit tighter than this. I mean, this side doesn't look like it's as bad, other than the fact that it's on its way directly for that frame. The driver's side, the steering shaft is right in the way, man. Excuse me, steering shaft. Here's your eviction notice. Sincerely, stock manifold. All right, so we're gonna pull the manifolds off, and I'm gonna have to figure out another placement for my straps in order to lift this thing. But I am also gonna go ahead and take this steering shaft out. Now I have this big contraption hanging off of it right here. This was this hooked to the factory transmission in order to shift from, you know, reverse, park, neutral, drive, all that. We're not going to need that anymore, obviously, because I'm not running the factory transmission. Also, this Blazer is not going to stay automatic. I am actually putting a 5-speed in here, and we'll cover that later. But I'm just going to go ahead and take this entire thing out because I know I need to get an aftermarket one. Figured we'll get the engine placed in here, and then once I get my new one, then we'll figure out whether we're going to be able to install it or not. I mean, as long as we got an LS in this sumbitch, you know what I'm saying? Who needs to steer? Get this steering column out. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be some wiring harnesses and stuff that we're going to have to unplug. Oh my God. Why is that? Moving on. There are two 15mm bolts. There's one there and one there that we got to take both of those out, and then the majority of this is supported by those two bolts. And then there's also a plate down here that had 4 10mm bolts in it, but they're already removed. I'm gonna go ahead and get these two 15s taken out, and other than unplugging some wiring harnesses, I'm pretty sure that's it. There's an 11mm bolt right there that is going to actually separate the steering shaft from the steering box. And then I don't know from there, I don't know if this whole contraption is going to fit through that hole or not, but if not, then we're going to have to figure out somewhere that this comes apart in between here somehow. Oh, yep. There she is. So it turns out this doesn't fit through the hole very well, but that's all right. You can unbolt it from the rest of the steering column. So now we've got that all out of the way for now. I'm starting to realize that this whole LS swapping and S10 type of thing, that's basically what it's all about. Let's just move this out of the way for now till later. Let's move this out of the way for now till later. We'll just move absolutely everything out of the way for now until later, and then see what it is we now have to cut out of the way to get it freaking in there. Oh. What do you think, man? You think it's sketchy? Hey look, whenever you pull those damn exhaust manifolds off, there's like nowhere to strap this thing to. And yes, I am well aware of the valley cover with the hooks to lift the engine by, in which I don't have one. Fabbed up a couple old brackets really quick just to bolt on where the header's bolted on. Yes, it most certainly is sketchy. I feel pretty confident that's gonna work. If it doesn't, I mean, it either will or it won't, right? We just gotta get it in there long enough to get a visual of what it is we gotta cut. So here we go, round number 2. Now that's starting to rain again. Bro, I'm confused, man, because this thing sits down in here and that oil pan clears the cross member. Now, I don't know if it's like with the transmission bolted onto the engine and putting them all in as one is when you need the clearance to get it in. Do you see these 4 mounting spots right here on the block? That is where the engine mount, well, the bracket side bolts to the block. Yeah, hi Toby. Hi, yeah, I love you too. And I have that for the most part centered where the engine mount is at. Now, I mean, it might need to go forward, it might need to go back. Like, it's not exactly dead on where it's gotta be, but I mean, if you look down there.
So I realized this after, but the problem is actually this area right here. The engine is relatively straight right now, where it actually sits in the engine bay. If it was bolted up, it's actually at quite a bit of an angle. The back of the engine towards the firewall actually needs to come down probably a good 3 or 4 inches, quite a bit. And as you can see, the oil pan is actually sitting on the subframe or the cross member right now. So yeah, that cross member most certainly needs to be notched.
Well, who knows? Maybe the engine's got to sit lower. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not that actual sump portion of the oil pan. Maybe it is actually this section right here. You can see we definitely have room for a steering shaft. So there's the steering box, and then straight up to the hole in the firewall where it goes to the steering column. But now imagine there being a header in there. I don't know. Oh, the AC box. Okay, yeah, I really don't get it. Like, I understand, like, it's really close right here. So granted, this more than likely is not the actual position of the engine. It's probably got to sit further back. I'm pretty sure the transmission sits way back here, you know what I mean? Like, if the transmission was mounted in the truck right now, it wouldn't even be sticking out into the engine bay. I'm pretty sure it sits flush with the firewall. We're pretty close to that, and we are still quite a ways away from the firewall. So like I said, this most certainly is not the position of the engine. Either way, I'm gonna go grab a Sharpie and kind of mark that subframe, like where the oil pan is like in relation with it, and then we'll get this thing pulled out and we can start cutting. Oh, one more thing really quick that I just realized. So the engine is sitting relatively straight right now, so the engine is gonna have to tilt quite a bit. especially for the transmission to be able to bolt to the back of that block. And with the engine tilting, that is going to most certainly cause some clearance problems with the subframe down there and with that AC box. So I think that is the problem that I'm looking at right now. Well, not the problem. I think that's the reason why I'm not seeing the clearance issues that I was expecting. But either way, all right, gonna get it marked and we'll pull it out. All right, so doing some more research, despite what it is that we've seen as far as clearance, I am gonna go ahead and just take a rather large notch out of this subframe. Reason being is I don't wanna run into any issues where I'm putting the engine and transmission in as one, or if we need to take it out for whatever reason. You guys know how these builds go. I'm putting a stock 5.3 in here. In the future, who knows? I might wanna pull it out and put another engine in here, pull it out and do piston and rods or something. I don't know. If it gets to a point to where I wanna take the engine in and out on a regular basis, like, I don't want it to be a pain in the ass. I figure the more clearance that we give ourselves now, it's just going to make things so much easier in the future, and we may as well just do it now rather than having a lifetime of fighting with it, right? So my original plan, I'm not even gonna freaking bullshit with you guys, is I wanted to cut this completely. I was gonna cut it here, take this whole center section out, plate it, and then put like a piece of tubing welded in the front from one side to the other. And the only reason why I don't want to do that right now is because I'm just afraid of the, I shouldn't say that I'm afraid. Once again, from all the research I have done, it has scared me of the possibility that the frame can like do one of these, or like, you know, just get weird whenever you cut that loose. So you need to go through and you gotta weld. I would need to basically weld like a bar from here to here, and maybe one up here from here to here to stiffen the frame and hold it where it's at. I saw a guy had some steel plates bolted to the cement, and he had it going in a crisscross shape. So it was like braced in an X and bolted to the ground and then welded from frame rail to frame rail before he cut. And I'm just like, bro, is it that damn serious, man? So anyhow, not everybody does that. Some people just take a notch out. And what I think I'm going to do is something kind of in between. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a rather large notch out, but I'm going to leave this front fascia right here. So hopefully that keeps the frame from doing any kind of weird stuff, in which, if I'm being honest, I don't think it's gonna do that anyhow, but better safe than sorry. Besides, if it gets all whacked out, you know, the alignment shop just has more work to do to get this thing to drive a straight line. But what I'm thinking is probably in the neighborhood of like out here. So we got to pay attention to the fact that our lower control arm bolts up right there, and it bolts up like right about here. Yeah, that's the bolting point for our control arm. So I want to stay on the inside of that, obviously, and then come up, and then I'm gonna go straight across. Our control arm bolts up about right there. This bolt is there, so something like that. So I want to stay on the inside of that. Yeah, something about like this. So we'll take that out, we'll plate it in, and then I also think I'm going to reinforce it a little bit. But yeah, let's get to cutting. All right, we've got ourselves a brand new battery, a brand new blade, and we got our eyebrow safety glasses. Don't forget the safety glasses. It just dawned on me I should probably check the bottom first before I just go sending it. We need to stay right here for sure. I am glad I checked. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm glad I checked that. Good Lord. If we were to went all the way out here, I would have been into the open pocket area, that the access that you have for installing the lower control arm. Yeah, so it would have been just wide open. Very nice. All right, so I could do those two cuts with the Sawzall. Now going this direction, I'm gonna need to switch over to a grinder. Nice. Perfection, my friend. Perfection. All right, so that is where we are at so far. I need to still cut the bottom. I'm gonna do the bottom the same way I just did the top right now with the cutoff wheel on the grinder. But yeah, one more cut. Though then again, I think I'm also going to still take this section out, but only on the top, and then kind of angle this cut so that whenever I plate this back, I'm basically going to plate it flat here and then plate it at an angle on this side, so it's kind of wedge shaped, just for that extra clearance, you know what I'm saying? But we're getting too far ahead of ourselves. Let's get that bottom section cut. Oh yeah, oh yeah. The point of no return. Actually, I guess there is still a return. We could just literally slide this thing back in here and weld it back up. But anyhow, you see how that just slides in? Look, it fits right back into place with no problem, right? You know what that tells me? This hasn't moved at all. There's no flexy, twisty craziness going on. But anyhow, I do not have material for plating this in. I need to go get material. Honestly, I haven't done that yet because I wanted to see what thickness this was. I want to match the thickness, you know what I'm saying? But before I take off to go and get material, what we need to do is try to kind of clean this up. Now, I'm going to take a wire wheel and a grinder and all that kind of stuff and expose some nice shiny metal before we go actually welding on this thing. But the inside of this is just caked up, bro. This is years and years of oil leaks and road grime and whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and pressure wash the living shit out of that to get it all out. Coilovers with 4,400 PSI of fury, my friend. Oh, it's going down. For real. Dun 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 dun. Move, bitch. Well, yes sir, man. To be continued until the next one, because yeah, we're not gonna be welding in the rain. That's all right though. I still need to go get material. I'm gonna try and do that right now, so we will be prepared. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really wanted to get this notch done in the video, but we're gonna have to wait until next time. Thanks to good old Mother Nature. Peace out. See you tomorrow.